Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Some months ago I met Christoph and we had the idea to launch this panel, and we discussed what kind of topic we should take here, and I said that was my first idea, the resilience of global supply chains, how all the stakeholders could manage these disruptions that happened over the last 2 years. Finally we are sitting here, we have a wonderful panel, we go to the gentleman later. Some few words about me. My name is Walter Holzam. I'm the representative of the Port of Antwerp-Bruges. Since last week we have merged with Bruges, so we are now unified in one big name, one big brand, and just a few numbers. So far we are doing now 14.2 million TEUs per year. The total tons which are lifted in both ports on both sides is close to 290 million TEUs, and when it comes to workforce, I can tell you that in both ports on all sides we have 170,000 working staff, not all employed by the Port Authority, but in the companies that are working and acting in the port. So what happened in the last 2 years? We had a specific pandemic situation which did not influence every one of us in a personal way. I recovered last week a second time from COVID, even if I'm vaccinated 3 times. But it had a very, very tough impact on the global supply chains. And now, in that moment, we found out that, or we thought that the situation would ease up for the industry. We go into the next topic with geopolitical issues. So that's the specific of the logistic industry, that really strong people work there. But in my personal idea, the supply chains are resilient. They are still existing. Yeah? The thing is, you have to take care of vessel space, you have to take care of delays because the schedules are not anymore functioning. You have an issue on rate increases, and what do we take now for the future? So we have to think, do we have to redesign our supply chains? Is just in time still valid? Is it feasible? Is it affordable for companies? So that's also a question. And are we at the beginning of a new logistics journey into the future, which will leave no stone on the other? So to find some information how all the stakeholders felt during the last 2 years, and what was the challenges and what is the solutions for the future, I have the honor to present you the panel colleagues here, so I'm really proud. It's a mix of all stakeholders. So first of all, I would like to say hello to Christian Vogt. He's Commercial Director at Mediterranean Shipping Company, the biggest in the meantime, and this company managed, even in the times of crisis, to become #1 in the last year, or this year in the beginning. Thank you that you are here, so looking forward to the information you can give. Manfred, good friend, welcome to have you here. Manfred is normally sitting, when discussing with logistics people, he's always sitting on the other side of the table. Yeah, he's bargaining with forwarders. Makita is a very big company, and you're really global. So if you want to name the countries, or you want to say where are you, it's better to say where are you not. Yeah, so I'm happy that you give us your input today. Thank you for coming. Then Dimitri. Yeah, I'm happy that I found you. I was searching you all the day. Thanks for coming. Dimitri is working for Eco Worldwide, the biggest less container LCL service provider in the world, and they have a very nice slogan which is called Geography Simplified, that that tells me that they are working so the globe is their business. And last but not least, Igor Sekadi, a very important person here, because Austria is a really successful country. 50% of the Austrian GDP is generated by exporting companies. And IGO is working for the biggest association, representing 4,500 companies. So he's talking we talk about 50% of the jobs in this country. Thanks for coming. Yeah. So, as I said before, the last 2 years were really challenging for everyone. Let me start with Christian. Yeah? Tell us a bit about the last 2 years. How did the carrier's life change? Yeah? I can say that in the beginning of the pandemic, all the production companies said, what are we doing? We cut down, we reduce. So the fear not getting enough cargo for an existing system, sailing plan, it's not easy to find. So how did you manage that? It was not easy from the beginning. Tell us a bit more.
Thank you, Walter. Let me introduce myself. My name is Christian Vogt. I'm the commercial manager of MSC Austria. We are the agent of our mother company, MSC in Switzerland. For those who don't know, we are the biggest carrier in the world, as Walter said. We have 100,000 people worldwide. From these 100,000 people, 70,000 people are working in our cargo division, which is split in the container or the shipping business into Madlock. This is our sister company who is providing logistics services, and into Till. This is the company who is investing in terminals and taking care of the operations. We have 230 services. We are serving 500 ports, 524 offices, and we are offering the full range of logistics services in more than 70 countries in the world. This is a number which is growing basically week by week. I'm presenting MSC Austria. Also here in Austria, we have a strong focus on the local market. We grow up to 100 people here, so we are a really big office. You see it here. It's very important for us to be local, so that's why we also entered here in the WOF as a sponsorship, and we are really happy to be here. And it's really nice to have this event in Vienna. Yes, to your question, of course, the situation was really uncertain. It came sudden when the word COVID entered into the news. Everybody thought, okay, this is a problem in China. We immediately saw an effect in China that due to quarantine and the big lockdown in Wuhan, the production immediately slowed down. We all remember the pictures in the biggest ports, Shanghai. I remember a big picture where we saw thousands of trucks and chassis standing around. No people basically there. It was like a, let's say, ghost port. The positive thing at that moment was that we as a carrier, we were somehow prepared for that because Chinese New Year was just around the corner. So basically, there was also already a plan for the demand slowing down, and we could cascade the vessels, and we had the blank sailing plan. So it was a plan, but that we were on the end hit harder than expected. So as I said, the production slowed down, the supply chains got disrupted, our vessel had to stop. Our vessels were laying at berth outside. We all know the pictures from Singapore where the empty container vessels are lying around. Our vessel basically became we say a swimming warehouse because the vessel was somehow loaded on sea and could not berth to be unloaded and consequently not loaded. Then when China started to work again, suddenly we saw a complete change of demand because now also COVID entered in Europe. The people were home, we had the lockdown, there were no holidays. So we basically saw that now the demand of consumer goods are exploding. So everybody was at home, nobody spent money for something else. So the people did online shopping, they bought gardening stuff, tools, pools, whatever they wanted to have, they bought. So the demand in that area was increasing. We saw the biggest increase towards the US. So we started to ship again. We arrived to the US, and we and all together arrived at the same time, basically, because the port opened at the same time. So we and our competitions, we were waiting in front of the US coast to get a berth, to get our vessels unloaded.
Yeah, that's a situation which is not only kicking a carrier because he's moving on the biggest part of the supply chain, but all the problems which occur on the sea are then can be written forward to the terminals, can be written forward to the rail systems, the inland waterways, and the trucks.
Yes, yes.
Finally, all these topics arrive in the hinterland. Yeah, and this. It's a nice soup, really spicy with all the ingredients you need for keeping your people hard working, and that's a thing. That's a point I really want to mention is that the logistics, the people working in the logistics industry, they really made it. Yeah, the efforts was 3-4 times higher, but finally they served the market in a very nice way. Christian, thank you very much. I will come back to you with another question. So the next in the row is Dimitri. Yeah, Dimitri, your partners are mainly forwarders, and we have also seen massive increases in rates, really quick. And how did you manage to sell this to your customers? Forwarders are not always easy to treat. They always want to give the best offer to their customers. And did you keep your whole schedule, all your sailings? And was the part of the supply chain part you offer to your customers resilient enough?
Thank you. For us, it was very easy. Here's the price. You like it, take it. You don't. Thank you very much. For forwarders, it was, I think, more challenging to sell to the BCOs and the manufacturers, retailers. I mean, obviously, it was a very interesting year. It was an unprecedented year, although the way it looks, I think we're looking at probably bigger challenges ahead in 22 and certainly in 23. With the massive capacity coming in, with the warehouse, you mentioned warehouses, terminals, limitations. We really focused on our existing clients, making sure that our long-standing partners been taken care of. We did manage to maintain all our services. Challenges was obviously not so much to load containers, as actually to move them. And second, even larger challenge was to explain to customers, yes, we accepted your cargo, it's already in the container. By the way, we now have to charge you demurrage and detention because it didn't get on the vessel for 3 weeks. Those are all challenges I think everybody in this room familiar. Samson, as you mentioned, the industry is resilient, we're dealing with that. It's been, quite frankly, really our focus been, what do we deliver customers for the value? I mean, everybody in this room knows that today's service reliability of carriers about 32%. Transit time become really a suggestion. It's not really a good suggestion, quite frankly. So we focus on really what can we deliver. Can we deliver data? Can we deliver visibility? So we're able to maintain. We were able to move to digital. I think that's where we see lots of focus on our industry. To give you an idea, when we started COVID, we did about 20% of our bookings online. Today, we're taking 68% of our bookings online. I think you mentioned about people working. It's impossible to find people. People are tired. People are tired to sit in Zoom. People are tired of working. People taking time off. So digital becomes absolutely critical. How do we, each file today takes 3 times longer and more expensive to handle. Need to get hold of carriers, need to get hold of confirmation on board. We need to make it easy for people to work. So are we resilient? Yes. Is it going to get more fun? Absolutely.
So digitization is also a really a buzzword, and I think in the first round of the panel we also have planned a gentleman who is telling us a bit more how the digitization can support the supply chains, but there is nothing more to say. It really helped, and the speed of digitization speeded up enormously. So that's it for the digitization. It's part of our life in the meantime. Manfred, may I step over to you? So you have to serve a world market. Yeah, you have really reliable products. How did you manage the last 2 years? I'm sure that you were not amused from the calls of your service providers that the rates are moving up massively. Tell us a bit more about that.
Hello, everybody. I'm Manfred Seyer from Makita, Austria. Yeah, as I said, I think we had friendlier talks in the past with our freight forwarders, and I think it was easier in the past to handle. But basically, as a worldwide shipper and having contracts with our production sites in China, in Japan, Romania, Germany, basically, I think we have 12 production sites worldwide. There's not a lot you can basically escape from because you have your contracts with your factories. You have your orders from customers, which are sometimes penalized with LDs. So the only way you have to do is to ship it. So it's not
to raise the prices.
It's not really an option to say, okay, I'm sorry, I will step back and I don't order the goods. So for us, it was more or less a give and take. And we are shipping a big portion to Europe. After China, after Japan market, Europe is the largest market for Makita worldwide.
And you keep serving the market, so you will not stop.
We have countries, basically in each country we have our own logistics center. So it was no option for us to cancel any orders. We had to take it.
So you were together with all of the stakeholders in the same boat. That's it. You have to go.
So basically, the only way we could manage was to get the cargo at least in time. I have to say that one thing was good for us. We have a decentralized logistics operation. So each country in Europe, and basically we have an operation in each country, has its own logistics center. So we have no centralized warehouse in Europe. And we helped each other by just increasing and intensifying our contact with other Makitas in France, in UK, in Germany, Italy, wherever, and to transfer goods from one place to the other.
So you help yourself internally, which is also a good point.
So as a first step, this was the only way to do it. Of course, now as a second step, we saw that the supply chains will be disrupted for a longer period. Of course, we had to react. Even though the prices are high for transportation, even worse if you don't have goods to sell, because you have basically no sales. And we had to accept whatever was necessary to take the goods in. And as a second step, but I think this will be a second question, we of course adopted our strategy. But for the first part, we were shocked of course, by all these lockdowns, because our factory in China, which represents about 60% of our total volume, is close to Shanghai and was closed, is now closed again for 6 weeks.
Unbelievable.
So we are now thinking about how to get this movements in, but we already have to prepare for the next season, which will basically be again disrupted.
Manfred, thank you very much. Another sleepless nights for you? I hope not. You are a very experienced logistics manager with many years of experience. On the strategy, we go in the second round. So I come to Igor. How many times did your phone ring in these times? Because you are representing 4,500 companies in Austria, and as I said before, Austria is really good in exporting, producing, production. And I think most of your partners, members complained about the logistics costs. How could you help your customers in that special days?
Thank you, Walter. Thank you also to the organizers for inviting me and having us here. Well, as you already said, Austria's GDP is generated up to 56% by exports. So we actually in Austria, we have a higher export ratio than Germany. Many people don't know that, but we are even more export oriented. As you said, I'm from the Federation of Austrian Industries. We have around 4,500 members, mainly from the manufacturing production sector, but also energy producers, logistics, financial services. And just to give you a flavor, our companies exported last year 160 billion, goods worth 160 billion euros.
It's a big number.
And imported 170 billion. So this is for the I would say business location of the size of Austria with 9 million people. It's quite remarkable. And we have also around 215 million of foreign direct investment in Austria, which secures around 300 jobs. So what I'm trying to say is, and this is something we notice very strongly, the Austrian business location is very much internationally, regionally in Europe, but also internationally embedded and intertwined. And hence, especially the last 2 years, I mean, now the situation with Ukraine is getting complicated again. But the last 2 years with COVID were very problematic. The one thing we had a problem with was delivering or getting the goods we need in order to be able to produce in the manufacturing sector. So especially some raw materials, but also products which are enriched then in Austria and then again exported. And the second thing we had a big problem with is getting the people into the country we need. Just to give you an idea, I mean, Austria has eight neighboring countries, and every single one of them introduced a different COVID regime for traveling. So quarantine rules and everything, and the situation was simply unbearable because we have companies in Eastern Austria and Burgenland which basically cannot produce if the commuters from Hungary
are not coming,
to work. So my phone rang many times. What we tried to do, maybe just to give the second half of your question, one thing what people desperately needed was just information. So because if you're a small and medium-sized enterprise with, I don't know, 50 or 100 employees, and you need to get someone from the Czech Republic or some goods, let's say from the Czech Republic to Austria and then again further to Slovenia or wherever, you need to have clear information on how can you do that in times of COVID where every country is locking itself or is in lockdown. Yeah. So this was one thing we were trying to do, just inform. A second thing was to work with local authorities, Austrian ones as well as especially in the neighboring countries, to help at the border customs, or not the customs, but at the border transmission, at the situation. We had in the beginning, if you remember the situation in Italy, we had trucks that couldn't come to Austria because everyone was afraid that the truck drivers would have COVID. And the third thing we did, we basically, what was our core function, we lobbied within the Austrian government to get into agreement with the neighboring countries, but with also countries that are far away, to help with travel, to help with transportation. I mean, I stated some facts, but for example, the United States has become Austria's second largest export destination after Germany. So it's not just within the European Union, it's also overseas. It's been very, very challenging.
Thank you very much. So this was hopefully once in a lifetime situation for your organization, and as I hear and read between the lines, you were on a consulting trip. Yeah, yes, so really help them out of immediate topics. And as you said now, Italy, I could not remember anymore now you say it. It was really special. Everyone from us can tell you the same. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are now through with the first round where we talked a bit about the challenges the stakeholders had during these specific times. And now we talk a bit more, we look a bit more into the future and what kind of solutions they can offer to the market and to their business partners. And I do the same row as I did in the first round, so I come back to Christian. Very easy question. How is your future plan? We have seen volumes have come back quickly, in a sudden. You have, even in this really specific crisis, I need to make a bit of advertising because MSC is one of the biggest partners in Antwerp as well. In such special days, you managed to become the biggest container carrier in the world. So how can you support the flow of supply chains in the future for all of us?
Yes, this is indeed not so easy. What we want to do is we want to improve the reliability for our customers. And for that, we are in constant talk with freight forwarders, also with BCOs, to understand the needs of the customers and to work out the solution with them together to go to the future. So what we did, as you said, we became the biggest carrier. We increased in the last 1.5 years our fleet by more than 100 vessels. So our owner family, they believe in the sea freight, they believe in the market, and they believe to understand, of course, the needs of the customers. So what we do is we are injecting capacity in the market. We try to optimize routes. We, for example, established 12 new services in the last year, where 6 services go to the US, where's the biggest demand. We are investing in ports, in infrastructure, rail, warehouses, everything what helps us to become more stable. We work, as you said, to Antwerp is the best example. It's the success story of MSC Austria yesterday. We saw that the ports, Hamburg, Bremerhaven, that the capacity on the rail for these ports, we are hinterland offices, so we are, or hinterland countries, we are depending on the rail. The rail is the way we move our cargo. So we saw the capacities of the north ports, they come to an end. So we had the idea, we saw with Antwerp a route which was not developed. So we started last year with 1 train, and we ended this year now with 4 round trips to Antwerp, and we believe in that product. And also there we are optimizing the supply chain for our customers, because Antwerp is our biggest hub in Europe. We go directly on the services, and we don't need to transship.
Yeah.
What we do locally, as I said, we are investing in people, so we trust in our people. We are investing in training. We want to serve our customers here in the best possible way.
Yeah. So you synchronize yourself and your offer with the needs of your customers.
Yes.
And you try to give them some kind of one-stop shop when they ask for supply chains. I know that it's not easy, because we will have a question for later on also for you. Reliability of ocean carriers is on a record low. Yeah. It's not so easy to bring all these hundreds and thousands of sailings into the schedule back. That's not so easy. So that will definitely take months, probably a year, hopefully not more. And this is a point we all have to work together on it. So, but okay, we can come to this point later. Let's change over to Dimitri. Thank you very much, Christian. Dimitri, the same content, what is your solutions to keep your customer supply chains alive, and what is more important in the future, and we talked about the costs before, to keep the costs affordable. So shippers are still using global services, buying on other continents to serve their local markets. So global business is your expertise, and risk management could impact your global solutions. How do you go forward with that?
I think there's a key word what you mentioned the last 2 years. How do you keep it alive?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of our solutions have been really focused to solve the challenges what you mentioned. We've done things like express services from China to US, for example, where we have solution running in 11 days from China to US consistently. That's been received very well. Rail from China to Europe, been a big product. Of course, right now it's hopefully temporary shutdown. But this is all solutions to, like you mentioned, keep it alive. And the question of the cost, if anything, last 2 years, I think we need to ask ourselves a different question. Is the real cost important, or predictable cost is important? I think the issue was what you mentioned, Manfred, is that panic in the market, right? Last 2 years. I don't even know what my cost anymore, and I don't know at what cost I'm going to get on the boat. And it doesn't really matter if rate is cheap if I cannot get on the boat. So I think as an industry, we need to get to the predictable cost environment, whatever that number might be, which also will be supported by the services. In terms of the future, we're looking at the things a little bit different, and we look from the 3 different angles. Some of them is which way is industry going. We're looking at near sourcing. I think you also mentioned, Manfred, 60% you said on one factory in China. I think most of the BCOs coming to the point that near sourcing probably way to go, which also why I believe this region will be very important in the upcoming couple of years, because manufacturing will be moving out of China, some to Vietnam and India, but some also to Central Europe, Eastern Europe. We're looking at the whole new industry, which is the manufacturer to the consumer. That's becoming a massive business. I just read a very interesting article. In the last 2 years, Nike got rid of 50% of their wholesale resellers who resell their shoes. They're going completely directly to the consumer. If you look at the new models like Shein and Etsy, the websites, you go on the website, you order, it gets delivered from the manufacturer or from you guys directly to the consumer. We need to be prepared to that. And that's a whole different product that we offer. And quite frankly, as an industry, talking to our peers and customers, we need to move to a very different way of measurement our performance, all different way of KPIs. As an example, we change our definition of transit time. We have an algorithm where we calculate the true transit time, calculate seasonality, delays at the terminals, delays with the carriers, the over-the-time patterns to tell you what real transit time, because you can attest, if you tell me 11 days, it's going to come and sit in the terminal for 4 weeks, it's really not 11 days. So we need to be, and we come into our customers and telling them, don't measure us the way you measure us 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I need to be 11 days. Measure us on a true performance.
Yeah.
Measure us on consistency. That's what we're looking going forward.
Yeah, right. So KPIs is a good thing to measure things, but I think also that KPIs have changed a little bit. I had a discussion with my colleague from Copa today. He was terminal manager over the last 2 years, and he said when they had a delay of 1-2 hours in the past, everyone was crying. Now we have the situation that vessels are waiting 6 days to get a berthing window. So also this comes back as information to the customer, and that's also the idea I had before when I said is just in time still feasible? Yeah, is it necessary? You know, also the car industry, which was shutting down all the production because they are always quick in that thing. Now they have the situation that all the chips, the microchips, they did not order, they cannot order anymore because they went to other industries. Yeah, to the electronics. So the time definition is always a very important part of logistics, but probably we took that too serious in the last years. Yeah, and let me do this input as well. Also the costs. Yeah, we have seen that supply chains have survived. Yeah, they stayed resilient, but because of the dedication of logistics people and logistics, the knowledge in logistics is an asset. Yeah, and the expertise at the end of the day needs to be paid by the customer and finally by the product and the end consumer. That's also a message I would like to share with you. So probably the crisis is terrible, we are still in between, but especially the people which are in my age know that every one of us has received an inquiry from a customer and said, okay, the cheapest one is getting the container. We are discussing on €5 on a distance of 10,000 sea miles, you know, €5. That's nothing. So now the sensitivity has changed, and I think that's also, in each crisis, there's always some positive momentum. Yeah. So thank you very much. Manfred, I'm back to you. The floor is yours again. How creative Makita needs to be in the future? Will you stay global or will you change that? I think you will stay global because that's the business model you are running since a long time and you are really successful. We have encountered the situation that everyone in the shipping industry was really kicked by massive increase in rates, yeah, and logistics costs at the end of the day. And I can remember a time when you could really take the cheapest offer and you took it. How do you do this in the future? What is your plan?
Yeah, as a beginning, of course, yes, we will stay global. But of course, we had to make some adjustments the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Literally, the first one was the one to increase our storage capabilities. So we had to look after new warehouse and new stock evaluations. So we had usually 6 months on stock.
Okay.
After all the supply chains were a bit disrupted and messed up, we went up by 3 months. So we increased our capital, which we have on stock, massively.
Okay.
Also with increasing volumes, so we basically doubled our stock, our inventory.
Yeah. Let me just jump into a question I can see from here. I still can read it from here, but I read it from here. It's better for me. To Mr. Manfred, we have a question from some guests. How do you explain to a private consumer that it takes so long until he gets his gardening tool when you tell the people that you have now big stocks?
That looks personal.
Well,
Somebody speaking from experience.
well, luckily we were not the only one on the market which had the same problem. So it was quite easy to explain, and people, I have to say, understood quite rapidly and frankly also. They all knew what's going on because it was on all news. So basically it was not a big deal to explain.
Yeah.
But that's what we, of course, we are confronted with, people asking, where's my cargo? So the first and the easiest way to answer that was to increase the stock.
Yeah.
So we basically have something to deliver, even when the cargo takes 2 months longer than expected. And we were hit badly last year when we expected our seasonal garden equipment to come in September, when it finally arrived on the 20th of December, 4 days before Christmas. So
that positively influences the learning curve of logistics directors. But that's the way you have to do, and you have to deal with that problems. And also, as I said, the sensitivity of the customers is changed because they understand it, because they cannot go to your competition. They have to wait as well. There.
So this is one part. This has been done very easy. Well, easily not, because you know that logistics, warehousing is difficult to find. Everything's full. Offices, you can rent anywhere you want at any size, but to get logistics space is a bit more difficult.
Yeah.
But we managed to do it. We were lucky to find a big place on the other side of the street. And of course, it's also now creating internally some new thoughts about building a second logistics center. But as a second step, which is a bit more complicated, we also rethinking our production.
So move it a bit closer to your selling.
It's already ongoing. So we have already transferred some lines from China to Romania, where we have a big production site. It has been expanded now for the 3rd time, so it's very big. We have also an existing production site in Hamburg, which was on different products, which have been discontinued. It has been refurbished, expanded, and also a big warehouse, and we also getting cargo from China to Europe. Number A, because of the rates, because we cannot afford to pay these rates, let's say on the long term. It's a minus on our product, and we cannot get the prices to the market because it's simply too expensive. And number 2, of course, because of reliability of delivery times. So I think we will, in 2 or 3 years, we will have shifted probably from 60% down to 40% China.
That's good to hear. That's a risk management approach in logistics. So I think Manfred can speak for the rest of the industry, because they have the same problems, and they will work on similar models.
Just as a 3rd step, and this is more on the consumer side, is that we saw, of course, like everyone else, a change in the consumer habits. So online business was increasing. We had never any online customers under our top 10 customers. At the moment, we have 4 companies in our top 10 customers which are purely doing online business.
Wow.
And we see that, of course, the shops and also the dealers are suffering. And of course, we, as you said before, about consumer producers going directly to the customers, we see the same approach in our company. Not basically for machinery, but at least for the start, for spare parts and for different side products.
Okay. Tough times. yeah, affecting all the stakeholders, and everyone will have to work on plans for the future, but I'm quite confident that you are the right man on the right place. Thank you very much. So the last question I asked to Igor again. You are a lobbying organization, so you showed that you can help your group of companies which are in your association. You are lobbying. How can you improve that for your members within the Austria and the EU area or on a global scale? So how can you prepare and help for a smoother future in that kind of things?
Yeah, so thank you. One thing we did with regard to our own activities with our members is we just had to speed up digital information very much. This is something we really learned in COVID, that information needed to go out really fast, on the fastest way possible, and on the point, so to speak. So we speeded up the information process. One thing when we talk about the political situation and the lobbying that we do, we basically lobby for various factors that, from our point of view, are supposed to keep Austria and the European Union compatible. You know, you have education, you have infrastructure, whatever. But something we now look even more into, we looked into that before, but even more to is trade agreements. In terms of diversification of trade. Yeah? So we have this whole discussion going on in the public, in the European, but also in the Austrian public. Do we even need globalization anymore? Wasn't it bad because the masks from China couldn't come to Austria, and at the beginning of the pandemics, and the disinfection sprays and all those tools that were produced in China or Malaysia or in Asia in general and were needed in Austria. And many said, okay, we need to start producing more locally. We need to start producing, I don't know, surgery masks in wherever, Slovakia, Bulgaria, or maybe Germany. That's not the way we see the way forward, because due to competitiveness reasons, this simply won't work. But what we need to do is we need to diversify our trade partners. So from our point of view, we need to have more different trade partners for maybe the same or similar product. This is also something which we very heavily need to look into now. As many people might know, Austria is up to 80%, the Austrian industry specifically, but Austria as a whole is up to 80% dependent on Russian gas. Times are really volatile, so we need to look here into diversification again. Austria has been very reluctant when it comes to new trade measures. We had this discussion on TTIP with the US a couple of years ago, which completely escalated in Austria. We had this discussion on the Mercosur trade agreement with Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, and Paraguay, which also was in the public very negatively seen and blocked. And from our point of view, so what we're trying to do is, first of all, we try to counteract that and try to tell people, okay, we will not and cannot move out of globalization. We need to stick to globalization and still harvest the benefits while diversifying it. And we also try to, or we do tell that to the Austrian government, that it should be cooperative when it comes to that on the EU level and not to block further trade agreements, because as we can see, being too dependent on one country, be it Russia, be it China, be it Malaysia, can be a problem in time. Yeah? Yeah. By the way, also producing everything at home, apart from the economic reasons why they simply won't work, is also a problem, because you get dependent on your own business locations. So what if production breaks down due to a pandemic at home? You're still in trouble. So it's always important to have more options. Yeah.
So finally, we say that you are a good partner for your customers, or your members, clients in the future. Yeah, thank you very much. So we are now done with the two question rounds, and we go now to the Slido questions. And I have another question for Christian. Will the way of Lidl One, I think we talk about the vessel, going for own vessel, become a role model and put pressure on BCO business? I don't think so, but okay, I ask you.
Yeah, it's a good question. In one way, of course, it will put pressure because they will take out volumes, important volumes. But on the other side, I don't think that this will work, because having a small vessel compared to, let's say, our vessels which are 10 times, 12 times bigger than these ones. And I think on the end, you still need a port, you still need a berth, you need a terminal, and I'm not sure how they or how a BCO operating their own vessel would react if something happens, like we saw the Suez Channel. They will have two vessels immediately stuck in a queue, and I don't know. I don't think it will be. It will
so in
be
Austria
something.
would say, I don't know it in English, but Schuster bleibt bei deinen Leisten.
Okay.
Do what you can do and what is your profession.
I think if I can add to that, I think when we look at this, and it's obviously a question in Trans-Pacific, probably bigger than Asia, Europe, even though that little. I think it all might change if you see people like Amazon enter the game. And there is a talks, Amazon owns their own airline. If they're going to buy Steamship Line or they enter Steamship Line, I think business is different. Those small charters like this,
Yes,
I
small
think
charters are working. I think.
little commit to 8, if I'm not mistaken, right? 8 vessels. It's not a game changer, but if you see people like Amazon coming in, or if you see larger retailers, Walmart, Home Depot join forces and run Steamship Line with complete disregard for the profitability, for the poor service in their business, that's a very different conversation. So I wouldn't discount it. It's not a game changer today, but I think, because like you said, you still need to unload somewhere. But they do have a flexibility, especially in the larger markets, go to different ports. They can go to, with a smaller draft to Bruges, or they can go in the US to the Gulf or East Coast. So it's a very interesting to look, but right now it's not clearly.
I think it's also just it's popping up and it's going away. I had a very nice presentation of Franco Ravazzolo when he explained that you just need a small vessel, you have 50 containers on it and multiply by the rate. So in the meantime, the rate level went down. I think that the rate level will come to a normal base in the coming years so that everyone can live with that. And I think it's all more a pop-up story. Yeah. So next question. So we have 8 minutes left for the remaining questions. How do you see the future in container shipping? I think that is the question I asked, that someone should ask me that. No, container shipping, I tell you my story. When I was working for a carrier for Hapag-Lloyd, and at this time, it was in the 19th, we spoke about vessels 4,500 TEUs up to 8,000 TEUs, yeah? So now we talk about 22 to 24,000 TEUs, yeah? So that's, it's, in my personal opinion, it's still a mega trend. Container business is a mega trend. Everything which can be containerized will be containerized in the future as well. And I think even crisis which we had in 2008, 2009, and the pandemic we had now, and geopolitical changes will not stop that development. Yes, probably the growth rate will flatten, yeah, but then it will move up again. And just to tell you, make some kind of advertising for the Port of Antwerp. So in the Port of Antwerp, in the Antwerp part, we have now 12 million TEUs plus another 3 million on reserves, but we are now preparing a new area for containers, which is called the ECA project, Extended Container Area, for another 5 to 7 million, and we want to have this done in the next 5 years. Yeah. On the vessel size, I'm not sure where the journey ends. Yeah. So the thing is not to build bigger vessels. The thing is the hinterland connectivity and the terminals. Yeah. So, Christian, you are number one in questions today. There's another one for you. So, ocean carriers have, that's not a fine one, but ocean carriers have made super profits in 2021 with major service difficulties. But how will these profits translate into better service in 2022 and beyond?
Yeah, as I said, so I just can talk obviously for MSC. I don't know what profits we made. So, as you know, we are a private company, so it's we don't open what happened, but what we do, you see it, we invest in ships, we are bringing capacity in the market, we invest in terminals, in shares, so we believe that the growth will continue, we believe in the business, and that's where we put the money, yeah?
Yeah. Again, yeah, as this is the biggest part of the supply chain, how do you deal with unpredictable detention emergency situations? will we see an ease in the near future? The thing is that as long as the schedules are not back on track, back on the plan, it's not easy to calculate this. Yeah, we have the situation that on terminals you can deliver containers earliest 3-4 days before the sailing and not 5 days, and it's a real special situation we have now. But it's not only in Antwerp, Bruges, it's in Hamburg, it's in Kobe, it's everywhere. Yeah, so we are still in this disrupted area, and it will take us at least another year minimum that everything comes, or more, everything comes back on track. Yeah, then we have why MSC is still waiting to go online in terms of quotes, EBLs, bookings against the competition like CMA, Maersk and Hapag. So I take out of this question that these gentlemen from the competition is already offering that. How is it within MSC?
Also, we have this tool in place. It's my MSC, so we are investing a lot of in digitalization. So we have our platform. The customer can book online. The customer can get the quote online. He can track and trace his cargo. He can write the BL online. He can download his invoice. So yeah, we have it in place, I would say.
You are on the way to that.
Yes.
Yeah. Next question: why is MSC so strong in exports? Probably you do a good job.
Most likely, yes. Considering the Austrian market, yes, we are strong in export. I think also thanks to our amazing equipment team. Yeah. So it's again people. Yeah, we have people sitting here who do a day-to-day job. They are checking where's the equipment, where we need the equipment. They are talking to customers, changing pickups, optimizing the flows. And with that, until now, we are able to provide the equipment the customer needs. So probably that's the reason why the customers are on our ships.
Thank you very much. So finally to say that Austria is a good market, as we said before, and Austria has the potential to serve not only MSC but several carriers. And I can remember a long time ago when I was working for this liner shipping company, people said, okay, you are living in Austria, it's a small country, how can you do something with sea freight? We have no terminals, we have nothing. And so then Austria is strong enough to serve, and we are really happy that we have this big basket of carriers. You have an exceptional situation as you moved really quick. You are building up a big team here, so it's different with other carriers. You are close to your customer, and I think that's a good way to success in the future. So finally, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had a good time with us. You got some good inputs. We could discuss, I think, the next 3 hours on that. And it's a topic which is really touching every one of us. Yeah, as we cannot change it immediately. Everyone wants to change. We need to be a bit patient. I'm quite confident that the situation will come back to more normal in the future. I really wish that to all the stakeholders here, because their business has become really complicated. Yeah, a booking is cancelled. Yeah, without notice. Yeah, then you have to tell this your customer. In previous times, you made a booking and everything was running through. Yeah, so we fight on that it's coming back. These gentlemen here are taking care that supply chains are running through, are flowing, and customers are getting the products in time. Thank you very much for your input. Thank you very much for being part of this panel. And thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for listening. And I close now the last panel of this really successful WOF Expo Vienna. Thank you very much.